Now, she mentioned the charity, the National Association for the Children of Alcoholics. They received over 30,000 calls and messages last year, up from 23,000 in 2019. But, and here's the but, it no longer receives government funding. So what does the future hold? Let's talk now to Hilary Henriques, the chief executive. Hilary, welcome to the Wake Up Call.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It really struck me what Sarah said that. She said, you couldn't speak to anyone about it. And I suppose that's the thing. Normally as a child, when you have a problem, you would turn to your parents, wouldn't you? But if they are the thing that you need to talk about, what do you do? That's presumably where you come in.
It's a really Sarah, summed it up absolutely beautifully then. Children are scared of sharing what they know is a secret. They learn to hide things. They learn to just keep on keeping on. And very often, even where there are two parents, the other parent who maybe doesn't drink is often colluding to keep this secret. And the reason why the person does that is because they want their children to feel safe. They want their children to have a happy home. But instead of talking about problems, they squash them. But children are like sponges. They pick up everything. They pick up atmosphere, as Sarah's just said. And so with these sort of very often unsaid rules of don't talk, don't trust, don't feel, they start to go inside themselves and therefore don't live anywhere near their authentic life. And that's where we can come in, because we offer a free and confidential helpline for children. They know we will talk to no one else about what they've said to us. Everything stays in-house, and we will do everything in our power to help them to cope with. We can teach them skills. We can teach them ways of changing their thinking, so that maybe even if it's only a 10-minute call, during that time, they are the most important person in the world. And they are, because you can't do this work unless you really understand and really believe this. And that's what children need. Children need to be seen. And although we don't see them, actually, because we don't record things, we hear them. And it is absolutely extraordinary how much you can take from someone's voice, which, of course, you will know because you do radio.
Yes, exactly. And it's so important, isn't it? Because I guess for many of these children, it's all they've ever known. And the worry is they would think, oh, well, that's normal, that I would have to struggle and suffer in this way, not knowing it's hard enough for an adult to articulate their feelings, but knowing that they're not alone and having someone walk alongside them and, as you say, support them. It's vital, and that's why we're a bit worried about the funding. What's happening there?
We did get funding after a very, very long process,
right.
In 2019, and we got over 300,000, which for us is a huge amount of money, because our average turnover is probably about that. And we thought that this was going to be an ongoing scheme. We didn't know it, but we were led to believe that. They were so pleased with our project that the funding would continue. And then suddenly, almost without any sort of notice, it was, no, you're not going to get funding. We're going to put all the money that we have into local authorities to provide help for parents and families. Well, that is absolutely fantastic. And that money will be really well used. I know that. But we also know that only about 20% of people who drink too much or have another addiction ever get help and support, let alone rehab.
Yeah.
So that means that the greater number, 80% of these families, are living with the secret and desperately keeping the secret. And it's those children, so it's the 2 million children out there who are living in lockdown again. Who are living with the secret and desperately trying to keep things normal and to keep an outside facade for the world. I'm okay. Don't worry about me. No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. When actually they're dying inside.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows what kind of problems they would then be storing up for future. A human being can only take so much before it spills out. Important that I read this to you. It's what we've got from the government on this. The government says it invested $6 million on a package of measures known as the Children of Alcoholics Dependent Parents Programme, including the funding of your helpline. The programme's now ended, they say, but the local councils can invest some of that money for interventions. It's 532 million drug strategy funding, which will strengthen services available to children and families, which is, as you've outlined it, it's not specific. So is there anything you can do to make sure that your funding comes directly to you as a specific project?
Well, I think what we're doing is really, we keep banging the drum. I think the government are probably absolutely sick, tired and fed up of feeding people this information. But what they are missing is the vast majority of children whose parents don't even know they have a problem. There are 2 million children out there who are the most hidden, they are the most vulnerable, and they've been sacrificed by the government because the government know. We went through this process and we had fantastic help from Liam Byrne, John Ashworth. We had Theresa May saying this was a social injustice which has to be looked at. And what's happened to all of that? They know this is a massive problem and they've turned their back on it. And I think it's really duplicitous to throw the word family in, because families are important. But families who are accessing help and support are actually functioning well, quite well. The children we're talking to are the children whose families aren't coping at all.
Yes.
And as Sarah said, I mean, they're using drink as a way to get up in the morning, a way to get their kids to school. But it's chaos and it's awful.
It is. On that point, we'll have to leave it there. I've just seen the time. It's just approaching time for the news. But thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks.
Really important that we had this conversation. Hilary Henriques, then the Chief Executive of the National Association for the Children of Alcoholics. As you heard the government say, they have invested funding, but it's not specific.